Welcome, everybody. This is episode 2 of Doctor's Orders, the live stream brought to you by the company known as Dr. Nick's Amazing Man Stuff. My name is Dancy Bearded. I help out with this company with marketing and several different roles and absolutely love everything they are doing. And I would like to introduce the fine bearded gentleman next to me here. This is Nick. Nick, how you doing? All right. Doing good?
What's going on, guys? How's it going? Good. I'm getting a little bit of a
good.
duplicate audio there from you, Dan, oddly enough.
Okay. Check and make sure your YouTube browser is muted or closed. And then we should be good. And guys, today we are going to kind of let you know some of the inner workings of this company and of this owner. If you missed episode 1, please pop back and check that one out. There's some really interesting information about Nick and his background and his companies that he runs and operates and organizes. It is absolutely fascinating, and I promise you'll be impressed. And the theme of today's show is Dr. Nick's Solving Beard Itch. And we're not just going to surface level talk about this. We're going to go into details on a bunch of different categories. But first off, I want to start with something cool here that you'll see scrolling down at the bottom. And again, if you could, please hit that thumbs up, consider sharing. And if you're watching, please get subscribed like JP in the comments right now. What's up, JP? We appreciate everybody. But today, literally today, is Mr. Nick's 10-year beard anniversary. Happy birthday.
I feel like I needed birthday candles stuck in here. Maybe like one of those cool little poppers to shoot at the camera. I was terribly unprepared for the birthday celebration. I love it though. Happy birthday, beard.
The black beard legend where he had smoke coming out of his beard and his ears. So what's this deal? How do we know that literally today, this very day, is 10 years of your beard anniversary? Tell the story on this one. It's pretty cool.
Oh man, you guys are gonna love this. So I know today is my beard's birthday because it's my son's birthday. And the last time I clean shaved was my son Jack's birthday 10 years ago. So my beard is now 10 years old, same age as my son, getting just as much of an attitude from time to time, but it's funny. Everyone says like, well, man, why was that the last time you clean shaved? Was that a plan? Did you have that kind of figured out ahead of time? And no, my son's labor was long and intensive, multi-day process. And the nurse, she says to me, we're there in like the little suite they give you with the bathroom and the sitting area and the couch and everything. And she's like, you don't have to sit here just staring the whole time. You can go like take a shower and clean up a little bit, like, go relax. You've been awake for 2 days on end with a couple of the naps. Go take a nice shower. So I did. Went in the bathroom. I took a nice shower. I was looking in the mirror after. I was like, wow, I'm a little scruffy. Might as well, clean up for the photos if he ends up coming soon. And so I took my sweet time. And then I come out of the bathroom feeling great, relaxed. And there is 5 new people in the room, a nurse that's wondering where the heck I've been and saying, where have you been? You almost missed it. He's coming right now. So the story goes, the last time I shaved, I almost missed my son being born. So I learned my lesson, never shaved again.
Hey, that is a great lesson. Life will teach you all things. So that is hilarious. How it went all smoothly after that?
Oh yeah. Yep. He was good. He was safe. Mom was safe. Everyone made it through, and he came out a pint-sized version of the beast that he is today, wearing the same size shoes as my wife at 10 years old. But everything is great. So it's always funny. He wakes up in the morning and he comes downstairs. I say, "Happy birthday, Jack," and he comes over and says, "Happy birthday" to my beard.
That's great. That is so cool. Something that you'll remember forever, which is so awesome. And shout out to King Luna. Shout out to Go Habs in the building. We appreciate everybody that's coming in right now. Our intentions of this live stream is to make it something that you can be engaged with in the moment in a live stream kind of way, but also we want it to have the watchability of a podcast or an informational video in the future. So please ask questions, get involved, but also understand we're just going to be treating this as if somebody can watch this again in the future. I don't know what I told you, the first episode we had within a day or two, we had over 1,000 minutes watched on the stream, which is so cool to think about. And we appreciate all of you guys coming in to hear what Dr. Nix has to say. And especially, there really is something behind this Dr. Nix difference. So there truly is something different here. And man, oh man, are we excited for everything that they're building over there and all the things to come in the future. Real quickly, any new things coming out that people are already fans of the company that can get excited about?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So next week when we're doing this, we're going to be introducing 2 new products. We have 2 new signature series scents getting released across our beard balm and our beard oil lines. We numbers to be announced, scent profiles to be announced, but stay tuned next week because I'm wearing one of them right now and it is fantastic. And actually, one of the new ones, oddly enough, really relates pretty closely to the topic at hand today, being as it does contain an essential oil that is known for its anti-inflammatory properties. So it's great from a beard itch perspective, both from a prevention and from fixing it. We actually tried this after one of the things we'll talk about a little later is some of the external causes of beard itch. And despite a good regimen, maybe how someone can experience a dry beard or flakes or itches from time to time. And we used this to try to knock that down after I experienced one of those a couple of months ago. And it worked so well. It worked its way right into the product line. So we'll be announcing those next week. And then, of course, based on the last stream here, we had lots of inbound questions about beard butter. That is also on track for later this month. So I imagine we're going to have not only 2 new oils, potentially even a 3rd early October, and a new beard butter coming out releasing this month as well. So very exciting over here.
Cannot wait. And even some possible other subtle changes to things like the oils out there. And so stay tuned, you guys. That's the beauty of this show, is we get to bring you that information directly and you can hear about all the inner workings of it. And to kind of jump off that, to get this topic started of solving beard itch. And last week we touched on your journey of starting the company and how you had irritation. You had what we believe is some kind of allergy to fragrance oils, and you wanted to create your own thing. And you just mentioned it with that essential oil and the properties. You mentioned inflammation. To begin this talk of solving beard itch, do you want to start with inflammation and clogged pores and how that played into your experience with this and your understanding?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had a friend of ours, I kind of mentioned this in the last stream, as an old apothecary guy from the 70s, really knows his stuff. He's the one that kind of coined the term with me that you can't grow tall trees without healthy soil. And kind of referencing that as an analogy to healthy skin and a long beard. And, what was really getting me were the drying ingredients inside of the beard oils that I tried. So that was things like on the lower end of the spectrum, of course, because I didn't know what I was doing, had some alcohol derived products in there from one form or another, which we all know dries the heck out of your skin. And, another one that was getting me in particular was fragrance oil. If I use anything with fragrance oil, I'd almost be willing to do a live stream to show what happens to my beard if I use fragrance oil. I'll slap some on, unnamed, of course, because we don't want to say anything bad about reactions to people that make a great product that just doesn't work for me. But I would be willing to do that. And what happens is I get these red bumps coming all down the hairline here, and I get really dry flakiness around the mustache area. And what ends up happening there is a few things. The dead skin that ends up forming from your skin getting dried, those little dead skin particles end up clogging pores, which causes a whole nother myriad of issues, right? So it is kind of a chain reaction. If you get something that bugs your beard, chances are using more of it is going to make it worse. And then the flip side to that is switching to something else that's drastically different or that has other kind of artificial ingredients that are made to fix that problem, oftentimes exacerbate that problem as well. They make it worse. So it's one of those weird things where you can definitely fix it until it's broken. I just had my neighbor come over, God, he was growing out his beard. He was getting there. He comes over clean shaven a couple days ago. I said, whoa, what happened? I'm like, you look cold. And he comes over and he's like, oh man, I was trimming up here. I had some redness. So I kind of just decided to trim past it. And the next thing I know, I trimmed too much. I just had to shave it all off. And I'm like, I just don't know how many people out there. I mean, you've heard that story 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And so I think, inflammation in my book is one of the main things that's going to cause it. And if you think about it, there's all sorts of things that we're all either allergic to or sensitive to, right? It's why we take, some people take daily Claritin or something else that can kind of help them fight back seasonal allergies. You got to think to yourself at the times of the year where the inside of your nose and your lungs and your throat are bothered by external influence conditions like pollen or dust or grass or whatever else it might be. Chances are, if that skin is sensitive to something, the skin on your face is going to be sensitive to it too. And you essentially have this big allergen grabber stuck to your face, right? So unless you get like a good defense mechanism that your skin can use to get the antioxidants that it needs and get the other things that it needs to really create its own natural immunities to these external forces, you're going to experience those problems from time to time. And we'll go into some others that can also cause those issues too that I experience, like things that I know 100% will mess me up if I don't prep for it right or recover from it afterwards properly. But I think, inflammation and dryness are really the two biggest things that are going to get you. And those things all lead to the other issues that you talked about, like clogged pores, and hair follicles getting damaged, and then irritated hair follicles, right? Those are going to cause irritation all on their own. So if you start getting an issue on the surface of the skin, that's going to translate to probably an issue at the bottom of the hair of the hair itself, which then translates to hair follicle problems, which then leads to ingrowns, leads to clogged pores, and all those sorts of things. So what we're going to talk about today is generalizing how you can fix those things and prevent them, but also specifically what's inside of our products that fix those issues.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people have heard of these things, right? They've heard of inflammation. We've talked about them before. You have things externally that can impact it that you're talking about. You can also get inflammation internally on your pores from things like stress, first and foremost. That stress will literally go all the way to your hair. You can get things like dehydration can do that. All sorts of things can cause that inflammation. And then you mentioned hair follicle health. What do you mean by that as far as dry skin and any of the problems? What does poor hair follicle health look like?
So to me, what it looks like is when you get poor hair follicle health, right? What you're going to experience is like if you use the skin only oil on your beard, right? Chances are after a week, what you'd start getting is right at the base of the hair, you'd start getting these little, as much as I can equate it as little anthills, little volcanoes, right? It's little bits of skin that have kind of formed this cone up around the bottom of the hair follicle. And what your skin's trying to do is spread its moisture onto the hair, right? It's trying to lubricate itself because the hair is so coarse on your beard that it ends up every time the wind blows and your hair moves side to side. Think about it. That dry hair is just chipping away and beating up that hair follicle right at the skin level. And so what you end up getting is this irritation. And what's your body's response to irritation, right? Inflammation. Like think about what happens when you get an abrasion, you get a cut, your skin gets swollen, it gets red, it gets irritated, right? It's no different, right? Your hair is coming out of your skin. And if that hair is dry and is moving around, it's going to be so coarse that it's going to irritate the follicle that hair is coming out of. And at the very worst case this happens, right? That problem goes on for a long time. You're going to start experiencing increased fallout. And Dan talks about this all the time. What amount of fallout is normal, right? Everyone knows what their normal looks like, I think. And then when that increases, obviously it's a little nerve-wracking. And I think those are some of the leading causes of additional fallout, right? Is an irritated hair follicle and dry skin around the hair.
Yep.
I think that's a huge condition of it. But on the flip side, if you used a beard oil that is hair oils only, like argan and jojoba, those kinds of things, right? And you're just using those oils, great for the hair. Your skin you're going to have the opposite, right? Whereas instead of having conditioned skin and dry hair, you're going to have conditioned hair, but dry skin. So even though the hair is nice and conditioned at that point, every time it moves around, you're going to be breaking the skin right around there, and you're going to get these tiny little microscopic abrasions right around that hair follicle. That's going to lead to inflammation. That's going to lead to dryness. Your body's going to put out its defense mechanisms, and it's going to try to fix the problem for you. Problem is, chances are it's not going to fix it. It's going to make itself worse. And so that's why, again, I think the blend of having a skin oil like Barrage and having things in there that can really help the skin in addition to stuff that's going to help the hair. I mean, that really rounds out the picture, right? That's what kind of gives you that full 360 defense for everything that can and will go wrong with your beard between dry hair, dry follicles, irritation, skin. I think that kind of pulls it all together and really helps take care of it at once, which is great. Then, of course, there's some additives that certain oils will have in them that are even more beneficial for fighting back inflammation and things like that. So
Yeah,
I think
no doubt.
that's a big one.
Yep, absolutely. And welcome to True North. Welcome to Jake. And then also the other side of Dr. Nix, we have Jill in there who says, yeah, and or extra oily skin. And it's super interesting to me to think everything that goes on has a reaction. And there's always a reason behind it, right? You talked about most people know what it's like to have kind of bumps under your hairs and know what it's like to have that experience, but they probably don't think about too much of what's causing that. And it is all those things that you just talked about. And then on the flip side, if you have that really conditioned hair and you're not treating the skin, you could get extra oily skin. Your skin is going to be like countering that and trying to solve the problem, but it's not unless you're actually treating the source of these things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a huge one. I think the most common reason I hear that people give up on growing a beard or they stop at a certain length, or not that stopping at a certain length is bad. Maybe some people do want something longer and they stop before they get there, because they think the longer it's gotten, the more problems they've experienced, which makes sense, right? And I think the most common one that I hear is, oh God, I just couldn't get past the itch. I just couldn't get past the itchy stage, that awkward stage of hair follicle getting growth and all the surrounding hairs. It's like when you go to the gym and you work out a major muscle group and then you do something that uses lots of stabilizer muscles and you're like, I've been doing legs for weeks or months, I'm fine. And then you do something that requires lots of stabilizers, and all those little stabilizer muscles and all the little things, the scapulas in your back and etc., those start to hurt, right? I think it's the same thing with growing something, long for a beard. You go from clean shaven to something longer, and you get some long growth, and then all of a sudden all those little guys that wanted to grow and never quite do, they start growing out. So you get like 2 stages of itchy, and people just think it's going to keep getting worse, and they don't really see the light at the end of the tunnel when everything starts behaving.
Absolutely. And guys, as we go on, again, this is a live stream. We would love for you to get involved, and we'll still be treating this kind of as like a podcast or rewatchable video in the future. But drop some questions. We'll work them seamlessly in when it seems as a good time. I'm going to address this right here. And then Nick, if you could read the question by GoHabs and just kind of think about your response there. But Jill is exactly right. And this is pretty much what we were trying to get at here, is that you need a balance of those skin oils and those hair oils. That's why when I hear people say, what do I use on my beard? I use jojoba oil, or I use coconut oil. That's probably the most common one, right? You get those people that consider themselves real manly men. I just slap on some coconut oil.
Treat it like a cast iron skillet.
Exactly, right? And it's like, okay, I mean, it's definitely better than nothing. And maybe you're a freak of nature that doesn't need additional help, and it works because those people exist. Some people can have nothing, right? But we want that balance. The skin oils are going to be the fast absorbing, those quick penetrating oils. The hair oils are going to be more sealing, more coating. And then when you get that really good balance in there, they're going to all do their job separately, but come together for kind of one goal. And that's when you really start looking at things like balancing the fatty acid profiles. You get a certain percentage of one type of acid that balances out with the other type of acid when you do it correctly. Making beard oil is pretty simple, but making great beard oil does have a lot of strategy and thought behind it. And I always say, man, a well-balanced oil is always better than any individual oil. There's no perfect oil out there that's going to do a great job. Some better than others, but to have that true balance, to get everything we need for our beard, which is so unique, right? We will talk about women taking care of their hair and skin for literally thousands of years, but the difference is our beard is so unique with our sebaceous glands, with the lack of sebum oil, with the pores, the coarseness of the hair. So it really is this new science, which is so interesting. And then kind of to really keep this going, and it's a great question by our neighbor to the north here with GoHabs. He wants to know, why do different folks experience beard itch at different times in the growing process? When I get beard itch, it's always early in my growth. Some people get it later when they get to a certain length. If you have any thoughts on that, Nick.
Yeah, and actually, it's funny. I think you might have typed that as I was actually speaking a minute ago here, and it actually ties in just right. So, you got to figure your hairs, when they come out of your skin, they're pointy, right?
Yeah.
Same thing happens when you shave. It's not so much of a needle point, but more of a an angled sliced point that you get from a razor. So the same thing people get when they get 5 o'clock shadows and, when you're clean shaven every day, that's the hair poking back through that top layer of the dermis layer of your skin. And it's causing a little bit of irritation as it does that. Right. And of course, the little, the follicle and the hole that your hair comes out through, it can catch on that and then push its way through, which again is going to cause a little bit of irritation.
And can even fold back on itself, and that's how you get ingrown hairs.
Exactly right. So I think a lot of people, I think that's kind of a spectrum. And I think the first stage is that when you're going from clean shaven to having anything come out of your skin at all, you're likely to experience some itch there. Now, you mentioned early stages of the growth process. So I'm guessing, a couple of months in, right? You got a good kind of shrub going on there. And I think the same thing starts to happen. I talked about a minute ago. All the other hairs that maybe let's just call it, if you have a little cluster of 100 hairs in a long beard, I would bet that about 60 to 70 of those hairs grew as soon as you stopped shaving. And I bet you another 30 of those hairs grew after those ones got longer because they weren't as thick. The follicles weren't as routinely pushing out hair, right? So once you get a couple of inches of the stuff that grows quick, you get those fillers that start coming in behind them, right? Because they're starting to see like, oh, okay, nothing's smacking everyone's heads off as soon as they stick out of the ground here. I'm gonna give it a go. And then you start getting that secondary itch. So I think you have like a primary itch of that initial growth. And then once you get a couple inches, I think that kicks in again and you get that itch from that new growth coming in behind the longer hairs. And this is just from my personal experience, right? Everyone can be different, but I think that's really a lot of cause of it is different hairs growing at different times. And that's why you get that, you got some length, then you experience intense itching again. And I think that's probably what it's from. You might not be doing anything wrong to cause that either, right? That's no matter what you're doing, there's going to be a couple of stages of itch. And I think what we're going to address when we talk about products and beard itch is really once all that's kind of gone and you kind of got past the growth itch, what can then cause, another round of itching or reoccurring itching, or maybe one that you just haven't solved yet at all and it keeps doing it. But I think what you're talking about there, Go Habs, is where you're getting that secondary growth, right? And I think that's really it's like a dog's winter coat coming in, right?
Yeah. And keep in mind too, kind of two factors that go with exactly what you're saying is every single hair on our beard and our entire body has two different things going on. Each individual hair has a different terminal length, which means that it falls out at a different length. My cheek terminal length is just a couple of millimeters. My chin terminal length is likely 2+ feet. Most people don't ever reach real terminal length. It's if your beard stops growing, it's usually some other factor going on in your life right now. But every hair is different, right? My arm hair, breaking news, I've never trimmed my arm hair, okay? And so my terminal length on my arm hair is just, a half an inch? And so what happens is it goes through that life cycle of each individual hair, it sheds, and then a new hair is coming through. So when you're growing a beard, you do have different life cycles of every single hair on your face. Generally speaking, our chin strap is our longest and strongest hairs. And then the more north you go or the more south you go from there, going down your neck, it gets shorter and slower. And so as you're growing long, the hairs along that chin strap are still going. It's still in that same singular life cycle, while your cheek hairs have maybe shed 3 times during that same course of time. And so you can get that itch at different times as those different areas are really filling in. So keep in mind the individual life cycle of a hair, and every hair is different terminal length in there too.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And, it's interesting. I always thought, and you talk about different parts of the face. It's almost like different, like you look at the climate zone of different plants, right? It's almost like one of those. You have like different zones of your face that grow different terminal length, and everyone's is different. You have a different shape. True. Like in the middle of my mustache, I had to go. You did a video a while back about how to keep mustaches out of your mouth.
Yeah.
And dear God, I wish I would have had that video a bunch of years ago. And, it's one of those things where like, you kind of wonder, like, if you don't have a bunch of friends with big, long beards that you hang out with all the time, you start to ask yourself, is this just me? What's going on here?
Yeah.
Right. And which is why these communities are great, because we can kind of start seeing like, the common effects, and you don't have to wonder if you're all alone. I used to keep a really short mustache. And the reason for that was for some reason, I just thought the length of my mustache terminal length was short. And every time it would go over my lip, I'd be taking bites of it along with whatever egg sandwich I was eating, and that's no fun. And then I finally just committed, right? And I decided, let's see what the mustache length actually is. And I've got, between heat brushes, good, balms to kind of help control the angle I want it to come around my mouth and not be growing straight down. I discovered that the terminal length of my mustache is a lot longer than I thought it was.
For sure.
Right. Yep. I used to think I couldn't get it past here. And so I used to just constantly trim. And like you said in other videos, Dan, once in a while, when you have a question about what should I do next, your first answer to yourself should be stop touching it.
Yep.
Just let it go a little bit. See what it does.
Almost always. Yep.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into more detail on the products and how specifically Dr. Nick solved these ones. But in general terms, Julie has a great question because, as I talked about earlier, beards pose unique challenges because we have about 3 to 5 times less sebaceous glands than we do on our scalp. And so one of our main problems is we don't have that natural lubrication that's going to protect the hair or the skin. And essentially what happens when you have a beard Nick's length or my length or even less than this is your beard grows and that sebum oil is leached away from the source. It's away from the face and we need to replenish it. Well, on the scalp, it's a different story because almost always we have overproduction of sebum oil, right? Again, the kind of golden rule, don't take a shower for a week. Your beard's going to be dry, brittle bird's nest. Your head hair is going to be like really greasy and different. However, Julie asks, does hair, scalp, itch, and sensitivity relate that happens with beards? Because we do have men and women alike that do get sensitivity on their head. They do get itch on their head here. Would Dr. Nick's oils in the blend have any impact on the scalp?
Yeah. So yes, we were actually just talking about this pre-stream, and I was telling Dan, which we'll talk about in another video. I finally, for my birthday this year, after lots of Phelpsing and researching here and finding the right one, my wife got me what I think is the best head shaver in the planet. Right. And sometimes, everyone looks here, right? I'm clean shaven on the head all the time and just about every day, unless I'm, busy and I have to skip a couple of days. Every once in a while, I will get some dryness right around here on the top, or oddly enough for me, is kind of coming down the sides here. Not so much a problem where I wasn't bald before I started shaving, right? It seems to only be in the spots that already didn't have any hair in my head. I just kind of went with it. I was getting the island in the front. It was no good. And once in a while, I'll use a number 0 oil on the top of my head, or once in a while, just a good quality lotion. Right. So a good quality lotion is, I think, good for like quick, spot treatments of something that's dry. But the number 0 oil, when you do have dryness, I won't use it all over, but I will use it in the dry spots. And what I like about it, our oil is a dry enough, light enough oil where you don't get that shiny, top of the head oily look. You don't want that. But I do find that it knocks down the flakes. If I do have flakes and I do that, hit it with a quick towel afterwards just to kind of give it a quick buff. I don't have any flakes anymore. It calms down the flakes to there. It exfoliates what was gone, and it gives it enough moisture to not dry out again for the rest of the day.
Yeah. And Julie, I'm going to piggyback off what Nick said there. There's kind of 2 main applications that a lot of people, men and women alike, with long hair and how they use beard oil for that help is they either target the scalp, like you were just talking about, and that seems like your situation, or they target the tips of the hairs. And there's 2 different purposes there. If you live a life that has irritation and just whether it's your coat, your job, or something is externally impacting the ends of your hairs and you start to get breakage or you start to get split ends, just taking a little bit in your palm and kind of taking on the ends of your hairs, very effective to kind of lock that in, have a lot of nourishment there. Then the other one would be, and you don't want to overdo this, but get a couple of drops of the Dr. Nick's beard oil in your palm, massage it in your fingertips, and literally just massage that scalp after the shower before you do your routine of whatever your hair care routine is. That's going to work wonders on the scalp. And the reason why we don't want to treat it like a beard and go throughout is because it's likely going to sit on that hair and give you almost a greasy feel, because with the hairs on their scalp, it's different than our beard hair. Our beard hair is really thick, really coarse, very porous, and your head hair is not quite as much. And so I would say to really try just focusing in on the scalp after a shower, and then try the tips of the hair too if you have those problems. It can make a really, really nice difference. And it is very common that a lot of the bearded guys I deal with, their wives, they take their products and they use them in that way.
Oh, yeah. One of the barbershops down the street from us here, that sells our products and uses our products at their stations. They use our spray as a kind of on demand astringent and toner when they're doing lineups and they're doing shaves on necks and they're doing straight razors on cheeks. One of the ones that came out of this, and they now get it in bulk, is the number 0 oil. They have a number of people that come in there. They have dark skin and they have really coarse hair. And they have one of their barbers there is really well known for doing those, that style of haircut for. And what he ends up doing with the number 0 oil is actually using that as a quick just rub down over the whole top of the head afterwards. Because the coarse hair, right? When you have really, really coarse hair on your head, for those of us that are blessed with coarse hair in their head, you can actually pack some decent amount of oil into and not experience the same issues. And they love it because it calms down the coarse and dryness of that hair and softens it up a lot. And that hair can tolerate it just like the hair on our beards can tolerate it. Some of that really coarse head hair, it can really help with that too. So, they've been, I talk about it all the time, and I was like, man, even during COVID, you guys were moving lots of beard oil. You guys wearing masks at your stations. Like most people I know aren't trimming beards. They're like, oh no, it's not going on beards. It's going on,
Super cool.
coarser. Yeah. Darker complexion people with coarse hair, and they're loving it. And I was like, wow, okay, cool.
Yeah. Hey, that's awesome. And Jake does the same thing. He says afterwards he uses a little bit of oil or butter at night for the dry skin on his bald head. So you're awesome. Definitely not alone there. And guys and girls out there, please keep the questions coming. We probably have a little bit of extra time today, and we'll be able to hit some questions and get to know Nick on a personal level and more about the company. But continuing on this topic of beard itch and solving beard itch, and we've covered a lot of this as it's gone through, right? Coarse hair, irritation, we got that one. And then those external factors from allergies, from stress, from different things that can act on your beard from the outside. We've talked about from the inside. Now, specifically, what, with all that into consideration, this was a major goal of yours and literally a moment where you were like, aha, I solved beard itch for myself. Take us into your mindset of the oil that you guys developed and kind of the reasoning and the purpose behind the oils you chose, the ratios you chose. How does that fit into this entire discussion that we've had?
Yeah. So I would say that, when we first started this off, it was with no intention of creating a commercially available product. I guess that's first and foremost something I have to point out is that we did not set in on this journey of formulation with how are we going to form, like, let's start a beard oil company. What are other people doing? How can we do it a little different? How do we bring it to market? All the things you would normally do when you're launching a product.
Right.
We backed our way into that. This was, I'm not going to say accidental. I would maybe call it coincidental. It was a very interesting little situation. And we formulated this to specifically solve an issue I was having. I wanted to grow a beard, right? And like I say, the last time I shaved was when my son was born. So a few years went by where I did kind of keep it. Before I was confident, I had a consultant role working for other people at that time still. I was in lots of boardrooms, everyone wearing, everyone looking like they woke up with a clean shave and a 3-piece suit on. And then, you had me with a beard and jeans and a sport coat, right? And had that adjunct professor look wherever I went. And I was getting used to it. But even at that length, like someone was mentioning here, like Gohabs was saying in the comments when he had a short beard, he was getting itch. I wasn't willing to go any longer because the issues I was having, I thought they were going to get worse if I went longer. Right. I thought the length is what was causing the issue, not the stage of growth that I was in, regardless of the length that I had, And so when we sought out to do this, I needed something that was going to be, fixing this. So like I said in the last stream, I went out and bought probably 20 different beard products on Amazon, a couple of big names out there direct on their website, and probably about 10 others from Amazon. And this was over the course, wasn't all at once. This is probably over the course of 6 months. And these issues just kept getting worse. I would get the beard drift on my shirt. I would be the guy sitting there going to the bathroom at the bar at night after hanging out with some buddies. And I'd look in the mirror and I'd be like, oh God, I'd have to do like the little collar pop to get all the flakes off real quick. And I needed to fix it. So reaching out and talking to friends and starting to talk about formulating an oil, that's where I learned about the potential irritation from fragrance oils. So knock that out, right? Day one. if I'm going to formulate something, let's figure out how to start with something that is unscented, that has a good base formula I like, and then figure out how to add things into it that give it some fragrance that didn't irritate me. So on that journey, when we were formulating this base oil, we came across borage oil with one of the people that we were kind of, that I was using for advice for this problem.
Yeah.
And so we came up and we initially sourced a bunch of things. We found a really good distributor of grapeseed oil that just happened to follow a really good extraction process, had a really good high quality product, and didn't have some of the issues associated with grapeseed oil.
Yep.
So we used them, and we started with that for a base. We added in the right ratios that we thought would work of argan, jojoba, somewhat standard, right? Somewhat standard additions of those.
Yep.
And then the sweet almond oil and the borage oil, for me, off of the base that we created when we added in the borage, the sweet almond oil, that's when I really started to notice that my hair would stay moisturized all day, number one. But slowly, I guess not even that slowly, I guess over the course of about a week, the beard drift started going away. And once the beard drift stopped and I stopped getting the flakes, immediately afterwards, the itch stopped.
Yeah. It's
So
all related.
and that's what really got me thinking, like, oh man, wait a minute. I didn't solve a problem with my hair just now. I just solved a problem with my skin. And so that's really from there where we started tweaking ratios and coming up with what really worked to kind of hone in on what those benefits were doing and how to extract more of those benefits out to a maximum impact of those ingredients. And that's really what did it, was the addition of those skin oils, particularly the borage oil. It's highly anti-inflammatory. It's great for the skin. It even acts as a defense against seasonal allergies coming into contact with your skin, which I didn't know when we first started doing this, is that it somewhat acts like a little bit of a barrier from seasonal allergy, pollen, dust, those kinds of things. I've even had people that work in high dust environments, like people that do drywall or people that do painting, right? And they're coming in contact with these fumes and this gypsum powder all day long, which is just, a 1-2 punch for skin dryness anywhere on your body,
right,
but definitely on your beard. They'd use this stuff before they go to work, and they would say that they weren't getting the dryness and white flakes underneath all the dust and stuff on their face after work every day. And so that was kind of fast forward. But, you go back to your question, it was literally that problem was what I was out to solve, and that mixture solved it. I mean, that really was it. And then through talking about it, all of a sudden you'd be out and everyone's like, man, your beard's looking great. How long are you going to grow that thing? And I was like, well, I don't know. I just fixed a big issue and it's not bugging me anymore. So I'm probably going to let it go. And they say, what was it? And I tell them, and they're like, oh man, I had that exact same problem. I didn't shave last November for No Shave November. And toward the end, I was just getting all this dryness and this, I just had to shave it off. And some of those guys now have huge beards, right? That they got, my buddies that have some decent growth now, and they fixed the same issue I did. So right around the time I went off on my own to start my own consulting firm for cybersecurity, I was working for some defense contractors at the time. And of course, those dudes, a lot of those guys have beards. So I started kind of socializing around that circle. And next thing you know, I had some time and I had some ability to invest in a new venture. And I decided I wanted to bring it to the world. I wanted to get other people the same impact that I had. So it was really interesting in the sense that the company was definitely not formed first. The product was formed first, well circulated, well used, well loved, and really, really impactful and beneficial. And then it was it was the only business that I have that started like that out of necessity, where I started making it for friends, making it for people at, the bars I would go to, at the beer events that I would go to. And then of course, our first one we launched was in the beard community. We launched it at a beer festival in Vermont. And it was, it was a huge hit. And that was the stout and our IPA that were kind of obviously going to resonate well with the beer community. Yep. So, I mean, that's really how it came about, though. It was a targeted effort to fix an issue that I was experiencing. And once it worked, it was too good not to share with the rest of the world.
That's so cool. That's so cool. And guys, if you have any questions about the Dr. Nick's products, or if you have any questions about beard itch, now would be a great time to ask. And kind of going off that, you got me curious here, because I lived the life of having a pretty big beard too, and people coming up to me. Take me through a going out to a bar, going out to a restaurant, a store, and somebody approaching you, making a comment about the beard, how do you, because you have to, it's mandatory, how do you transition into telling them that you own a beard product company? Because I know they're going to ask you, how long does it take to grow? How'd you get past the itching phase? All that stuff. What's your kind of go-to cadence when someone's like, dude, great beard, what do you do?
Well, so me being me, I usually blow it off at first and say, "Yeah, it's getting there. Thanks." That's usually that's usually how I pass it off quick, and then everyone kind of chuckles and it turns into a conversation, and they say, "God, it's looking good. How do you do this? How do you do that?" And I usually fall back on the joke that my wife runs production at our beard products company, and I'm her live animal test subject, so I don't really have much choice. I'm often held there captive. 2 different products in the beard at once, sort of thing. And then we start talking about, oh, what's the name of it? Clearly it's working, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And so once you get past all the jokes and holy crap, it's ZZ Top and all of those comments,
right.
It, it's a pretty natural progression right into it for me. I am kind of our walking, talking billboard of beard care. And so I would be remiss if I didn't, of course, have a little shameless self-promotion when those things come up. But, what's really funny is that people usually ask, if I don't bring it up and I'm just talking about kind of making jokes like, oh, yeah, it's getting there, this kind of thing. If they have one too, I'm one of those people where I have to return a compliment with a compliment. If they have even if they got this much beard going, I'm like, oh, that thing's looking thick. It's getting there. What are you going to do with that? And so once we get past those sorts of things, the question honestly usually comes up of, well, man, it looks great. Like, what do you use? And that's when I kind of, approach the topic of, that we run a beard products company and this is kind of what we do. And usually the first thing I throw out there is that we're an all natural beard care company. And the reason I start with that is I think it's a huge differentiator, right? There's not a lot of products out there. There are a lot of all natural products out there, but what I find different about our line is that we don't forsake the fact that people still want something that smells good, and they want something that their wife or their girlfriend is going to like, or their significant other is going to like. That's a huge one, right? And that I think we do still cater to people who want something fun, and they want something that's either going to wake them up or make them feel confident going out. They want something that smells good, and we don't ignore that for the sake of staying all natural, which I think is really unique. We like to kind of stray the line a little bit of something that's kind of it is something that you can pick a scent, you can kind of pick a profile you like, you can kind of pick a spectrum of scents that you like, which is ever growing. But at the same time, stick to our roots of being all natural. And honestly, one of the first things that come up when people talk about that and they approach me, hey man, huge beard. Just happened the other day in an auto parts store. We had the whole parts counter talking about it. Everyone was showing pictures of the beard they had before they shaved it off and all this.
Yep.
And I went around and I literally I had a group of people standing there, right? Everyone's covered in grease and we're all standing at a parts counter. And I'm like, well, why'd you guys shave your beards off? And they're like, oh, I couldn't deal with the itch. And I'm like, oh God, Dan and I have to do a stream about this. This is like the most common comment we get is people get rid of it because of the itch or the dryness, or just don't know what to do with it.
It's so true.
Yeah. I always throw it out. Yes. Thank you is a big one. I am a live animal test subject, so I don't have much choice but to keep it this long, and then we go into, we do run an all natural beard products company. And then usually more questions come out about that.
Yep. No, that's awesome. And it's so funny. I get the same exact things when you said people busting out their phone to show you their beard before. Every single time, every dude feels like they gotta measure up to you, and they're like, oh, just look what I had before. Or they show me a buddy, oh man, you gotta see my buddy's beard, and they go through, and I get the same one. And they'll even often lead with the question, do you use beard products? And I'll say, that's actually what I do for a living. And they're like, what? And we kind of go in, and I imagine yours is similar. And yes, as JP and True North said, always ZZ Top. And the thing that kills me, I respect the heck out of ZZ Top. Obviously, rest in peace, one of their members. But their beards are not great. They're long, but they're not anything like mine. It's so different, but it's just so ingrained. ZZ Top, Duck Dynasty.
It's a generational thing.
Yep.
It really is because you got to think, if you grew up in the 70s, those dudes were cool. They drove hot rods. Yep. They were rock stars, and they had beards. And that's
True.
what sticks in people's mind.
Yep, just the association. And Damien asks, is it possible to never have had beard itch? Yeah, man, absolutely. There's a lot of factors that go into that. Some people are just genetic freaks of nature, and they don't have it. They have oily skin naturally, that they get a little bit extra sebum oil production, which gives them that lubrication, which gives them that. They have their hairs are maybe a little bit finer and don't have that coarse irritation that some of us do. And then, hey, maybe you got to the journey quickly on your own. You didn't go through the process. Some people start their first beard with great beard products. Imagine that, right? My best buddy, the mayor, his first ever beard was at 40 years old. He had never gone more than 3 days without shaving until he was 40, and started with this channel, and we documented it, and he used really good products right along the way. Some people naturally already drank enough water, right? Usually that's a big factor in the beard drift and all the problems. But some people already drink enough water. So yeah, absolutely. There are some people that have never had that. And yeah, it can be the climate. If you live in a humid area like Florida, you're less likely to have beard itch than you are up in the north like us, where we have dry, horribly painful winters, right? And it's not just my beard. I know when winter dryness is coming, because I wake up and my throat gets a little bit more scratchy. We're starting to get to that territory. So it's absolutely possible if there's a couple of different pieces that fall in place, but most people go through it. Most people, and the thing that kills me, and this is one of my goals, and every beard company should be their goal, is for people to experience a good quality beard oil early on. Whether it's your company, whether it's something that's in the store, whether it's another company, that's good for all beard companies, all beardsmen out there, because my worst fear is they go to a store and they pick up something labeled beard oil, and the first 3 ingredients end in cone and are different silicones, and they associate that with being a beard oil. And the experience is so different, and now they wrote that off for life. They heard Nick talking about beard oil and how it solves it. They went and bought their own beard oil. And then it's not what they have. And it's such a unique challenge with beard companies. The education, the burden's on us, and it also doesn't translate well, right? There's a lot of people who advertise on Hulu and on all these streaming platforms with commercials. With beards, it's really tough to convey that message, because you could have a commercial about beard oil. For a guy to go buy your beard oil from that commercial, they're going to have to leave what they're doing, go pull up a computer or phone, type in the website, and go get it. But what's more likely is they're going to see that beard oil commercial, put it in their head, okay, maybe beard oil is my solution. And then they go to Walmart, because that's where they do their shopping, and they see beard oil, but then literally they're grabbing a plastic container that has silicones, and it just breaks my heart that is their experience.
Yeah. No, same. I mean, that was my experience, right? Like literally as someone brand new into it, I didn't have the Sherpa that the mayor had with you, right? and so I want to get to this next thing from Damien here, but I actually wanted to ask him a question based on his last question. I want to answer your question with a question, Damien. And that is, so is it possible to never have experienced beard itch or have had beard itch? And I want to ask you something on that. Are you talking about just natural growth beard itch, like as your beard was growing out, maybe, does someone not experience beard itch? And if so, are you one of those people? I'd like to know.
I think he is.
It sounds like probably you are. Yeah. Now, the next topic that we were going to kind of close with, I think, in addition to a couple other pieces here, was external factors that can that can give you beard itch, right? So I didn't, once I got past a certain stage, I stopped kind of getting the growth beard itch, right? What started, especially with good products. But even with a good regimen, there are certain things that will 100% dry out my beard. I am Irish and Welsh. My skin doesn't like naturally having hair on it, I don't think. I don't think I was genetically, despite what you might see here, people might think like, oh, this guy was born with a beard. I wasn't. and my skin wasn't naturally ready to have a beard, I don't think, right? Without good products. So if I go to the beach, for example, and no matter what quality of sunscreen I use, I've tried 1,000 different sunscreens on my face. I sweat, the salt and the wind from the ocean comes in. The sweat brings the sunscreen off my face and down on my cheeks underneath the beard hair. Within a day, I will have flakes. And if I don't really, really butter it up beforehand, and I don't do the things to really block the skin from absorbing that toxic stuff that it doesn't want, right? So, and I've tried all natural stuff. I've every company out there, Neutrogena and Sun Bum, all the face that's made. I've even bought sunscreens from Sephora when my wife's there buying makeup that are, $50 a bottle face sunscreens.
Yeah.
Still same problem. So there's certain external factors. Like I ride electric skateboards, right? And these things go like 30 miles an hour, and I like riding near the beach. So if it's a sunny day and there's lots of wind and it's really dry out that day, going 30 miles an hour with nothing much in your beard and some sun and some salt and some sunscreen hitting it, I'm going to have a dry beard later that I need to follow up and kind of use a good regimen of direct skin application of oils. So I'm kind of interested, like maybe the people that don't have beard itch growing a beard, I wonder if they still experience occasional beard itch because of external factors. So Damien, I'd be interested to know what happens to you there.
Yeah, and he just said, I don't recall much beard itch throughout any stage. I'm mostly Sicilian, so I do have more oily skin.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So there is a bit of genetic in this too, right? I mean, you look at this, like if I go out and I have a late night, the next day I have blotchy red skin all over my face, not just where my beard is, right? I'm just one of those people. Like you can tell if I had more than 2 beers at night because the next morning I'll have red blotchy spots on my face.
Interesting. Yeah, and I think a lot of people probably even subconsciously are able to divide out what is like a natural beard itch and then something that's external, right? Somebody's growing out. For me, my biggest ones are the pool. If it's a chlorine pool or even a bromine, which is essentially like salt water, which has become more popular.
That's what we use in our hot tub. Yeah.
Yeah, much better for your skin and hair, but still not great. It's still going to dry you out. Still going to have those problems. But I don't ever leave that thinking like, oh, I have beard itch. I leave it thinking like I just traumatized my beard. Like going.
What do you do
chlorine
when that happens? Like, what's your emergency response process when you have to fix that?
For me, you should have some pre-op precautions and then some post-op precautions, right, to take care of it beforehand. Anytime you guys are going to expose yourself to any external force that you know is going to dry out your beard, you want to protect it, like you say. First thing is make sure you saturate those hairs and the skin with good fresh water, and then try to lock it in the best way you can. Oil and then butter, oil and then wax. Anything you could do to put that barrier out there without suffocating your pores is going to be a good thing. That afterwards, immediately, I try to rinse out, right? It's not going to be plausible to go on the beachside shower and bust out some beard wash in front of everybody. So you're not going to do that. But immediately try to thoroughly rinse as well as you can with some warm water. Don't want hot water. Another external factor that causes dry skin is overly hot water. So people that are taking these scalding showers, your skin does not want that. It gets irritated and will dry out a lot quicker. And so I try to rinse it out with some warm water, and then I go with a really stripping beard wash because remember, those hairs are porous. The last thing that I want in there is salt or chlorine or any other chemicals. So I want to get all of those out, and then I just go in with a good, solid beard oil that's going to penetrate the skin, but also have the hair. I want it nice and balanced like Dr. Nick's. And then I kind of go about my routine. I try to pound as much water as I can. The more water you drink, your body literally goes through a detox process where it's going to go through, it's going to flush out the pores, going to go through the hairs. And that's kind of my thing. I try to treat it beforehand and afterwards, but I still know it's going to be brutal. But I determined a long time ago, I said, I know this stuff isn't good for me, but I do have a family. I do have 3 kids. I'm not going to be the guy that sits out on the side of the pool because of my beard. I'm going to go get in there with my family. I'm going to deal with it afterwards. But if I wasn't able to logically process that, like when we went to the Dominican Republic, I pretty much just didn't touch my beard because I knew how bad it was. I knew that I was just wrecking havoc on it. And I'm like, I'm going to deal with it, And so, those external factors can be huge, and they're totally different than those natural factors we talked about earlier.
Where they get me too, one of the spots, and people might relate to this, I don't know, everyone gets their hot spots are in different places, right? For me, it is kind of right around the edge of the mustache area, but also right on the chin. Right, for me, it's a big one on the chin. Like if I get really dry, I can go in the mirror and I can part this like that, and I can see on the skin where I'll start having some red skin, and I'll kind of have a little bit of flakes there. So what I do is, especially with our oil, and I might mention an ingredient here that may be introduced here soon. Is whenever I had that problem, I started using the pipette directly through the hair onto the skin. So I do my normal routine, right, where you warm it up, you come from underneath the beard after the shower, you get it really good down through the beard, and then I actually took direct pipette application right through the beard hair onto the spots that were really bad, like the chin and right around here. And then all of a sudden, we started reading and doing some research about marula oil, for example, as like an emergency, repair kit. And I started, we played with some, we ordered some ingredients, and I took some of that stuff by itself along with our base beard oil. And, all of a sudden I was like, oh, wow, okay, direct application with some targeted stuff could be really cool. We even contemplated at one point coming up with something that was almost in one of those little glass 1 milliliter syringes that was like a really intensive extra skin moisturizing oil that was like an emergency repair kit that you could literally just kind of inject straight through the hair. It would almost be like a couple of times use product, like a little,
Right.
maybe come in a little 5-pack of them with like, emergency response oil kits, and which may or may not happen. I actually still really like that idea. See what people say. Maybe people want emergency repair, emergency like EMT quality beard repair. I don't know. We'll take a poll. But I think there's some huge benefits to going straight to the skin there too. I mean, so when I have an issue, I'm definitely straight through the hair, right onto the skin. That helps a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And yep, beard butter's coming along, True North. We talked about that earlier in the stream, probably in the next few weeks here. So stay tuned on that. And guys, we got about 5 minutes left here. And a lot of people are relating to your spots. JP and Damien are sharing their different like hot spots that they have there. And JP's got this big, beautiful red ginger beard and kind of fair skin too. So I think he probably relates to a lot of the things that you're talking about.
Yeah, that's huge. And to answer your question about the beard butter, yeah, it's going great. So ever since we came up with what we think is our final, what we know is our formal final formulation, I've been using it nightly and maybe bi-nightly, but just about every night. And doing that, putting it into a braid before I go to bed. There's another, I'm always, Jill's always stealing my products, right? I'm always stealing her products out of the medicine cabinet. And another thing I found that was really helpful with the butter is this new elastic that I've been using that's really good for not putting kinks in your hair, which is really cool. It's like this kind of curly elastic that goes around. Yeah. And they're made out of like a silicone or something. That they're great. And it's I've been using that on the ends to kind of keep it bound up at the end from a braid, but not leaving kinks in that I have to like really spend time getting out at. There you go. There she is.
Very popular for women.
Love those things. Definitely. There's plenty of those, there's one covered in beard butter sitting on my counter probably. But no, the beard butter is coming along great. I've been using it, loving it. I've been waking up feeling, way softer than I was previously. And I think it's a really good mix. And the good news is that it's not too heavy to use every night. That was the problem I was having. I was having to strip that stuff out.
That was a huge goal of ours with developing this, and I was lucky enough to be able to help out. And and I try not to ever self-plug here, but I do have a video dedicated to pre and post beach and chlorine prep. So if anybody ever wants to, if you just look up like beard chlorine, my video is probably first. So you just search that out there. And thank you, Damien. Yep, I break down literally what I do there, and it has helped a lot of people, which has been pretty cool.
Yeah, it's huge. I watched that, and it's funny because the reason I watched it, I was like, our hot tub has bromine in it.
Yeah.
What's Dan saying about bromine? And so, I went on there, watched that. It was really funny because it was probably doing like, if you had 5 things that were like the biggest things you do, I think I was doing 4 of them. And I was like, okay, yeah, no, we're right in line with this.
Perfect. And we do have just a couple of minutes left here. I would love to hear, and I know some of the people in here too, just to hear the other side. It was your birthday recently, and you had a birthday weekend. It's your son's birthday today. Your beard's 10-year birthday as well today. What'd you guys do for the birthday weekend?
Oh man. So my wife surprised my son and I. So with an adventure. We like to surprise each other with adventures for birthdays and stuff. We don't like giving stuff as much as possible. We really like giving experiences whenever we can. Sounds cheesy, but we made that switch a few years back, and it's been a lot of fun. Try it. Give somebody a memory instead of a thing. It's great. So she took us out 3 hours away, Western Massachusetts. We went and did mountain roller coasters, like the kind of single person control your own speed with the mechanical levers, kind of mountain roller coaster style thing, along with a treetop climbing adventure, of which I don't even like. I would wake up every day scared if I was as tall as you, Dan. I don't even like being almost 6 feet tall. So being 24 feet off the ground, holding on to ropes, was definitely out of my comfort zone, which is great, right? You got to push yourself and do stuff like that. But it was fantastic. It was really, really cool. We went and had, I was just telling you before the stream, we went and did some good dinner on my birthday down in Boston. went out and had an awesome weekend with my best man from our wedding. And the three of us went out and did that over the weekend, which was fantastic. Had my son's birthday party yesterday with a bunch of 9 and 10-year-olds. And today he's in school, I'm sure, getting the special birthday boy treatment. And we're going to be doing some stuff with some more family with him tonight. So Jill's got her hands full between like September 8th and September 12th, with both of us packed right in there with, I'm the 8th, he's the 12th.
Yeah.
And, of course, celebrating his birthday and my beard's birthday, that's a lot of pressure on Jill. So, and she always comes through. And this year was no different. It was fantastic.
That's awesome. So awesome.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
a good time.
Well, everybody, we appreciate you tuning in. If you have not yet, it looks like most of you have, so thank you so much. But if you have not yet, just leave us a little thumbs up on the way out. YouTube really does consider that. If you're watching and you didn't get involved, please consider subscribing so you can ask questions next time. You can add in comments. We will be doing more of these streams. We're going to have some videos coming in the future. We'll be doing some giveaways, some launches. We got big plans, and this really does mean a lot to us. We put a lot of thought into this, and we really enjoy it. Both Nick and I were kind of glowing all week about how well we thought it went, and it's not possible if we don't have people interacting and asking questions and building into this brand. So from me, I want to say thank you guys out there for watching, and Nick, any final words to take it away?
Oh, just thank you guys so much. I'll say this: Dan has gotten me more comfortable in front of the camera. Obviously, Dan does this. I don't know what, 50 times a week. No, I'm just kidding. He does this a lot, right? So this was new to me. I'm used to interacting with an audience that's looking back at me and I can see them. And so I gotta admit, just humanize myself for a moment, right? A bit more than I already do, is that I was a little nervous before last week's. I had a little bit of the nerves. I was pumped for this one. After the feedback we got from the last video, the emails that we got, the Instagram messages, the comments on YouTube, I gotta say, man, you guys are so encouraging that now every week I'm looking forward to doing this more than I was the week before. Nerves are gone. I'm excited to interact with this, community that we're building here, and Dan's community that's coming over and watching this with us. So just like Dan said, thank you so much. And thanks for watching. Thanks for being awesome. Thanks for asking good questions, and just thanks for being supportive of someone doing something cool, right? What I've noticed is a lot of my other industries, people are really apt to knock you down to make themselves feel better. And I have not experienced that with this. Very few and far between. So I'm just really appreciative of the community and you guys, and excited to see you again next week, and excited to hear the communication that comes out between this and next week. So hit us up. We're happy to help, and just thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Tune in and reach out on Instagram to the Dr. Nick's Amazing Man stuff. Their email on the website if you need anything. The customer service is fantastic. All right, guys, we will see you next week. Thank you for watching. Take care.